let's move it on to a sport that is in its prime right now, and you know what I'm talking about. That is the NBA Finals are happening right now, and wait, I'm going to give you a quick update. Right now, it is 49-56. Go ahead and flip over there. You don't have to turn us off. You can just put that TV on mute, just like I'm doing. Because it's actually looking like a pretty good game. I was watching a little bit earlier. It's been back and forth, so... Oh, yeah, 49 Miami, 56 San Antonio. But let me just give you a couple...
pretty up and down playoffs this year, so... Yeah, well, hopefully a good finals.
Yeah, we're hoping for a 7-game finals. And now let me just run down a couple of the storylines going on in this year's finals. Number one, for the Spurs side, they're looking for revenge because they lost last year to the Miami Heat in the finals. And you have a year of maturation for the younger players on the Spurs who really, really resent that loss. And then you have the veteran players on the Spurs who are just like, we don't like losing in the finals. We're going to come back and whoop you. So... Looking for that. Tim Duncan is going for his 5th title this year. That'll put him up in the likes of some of the greatest players ever. And you know what? He kind of deserves to be up there with the level of play he's had throughout his career. It's just been phenomenal. And I like the Spurs. You know, I like them a lot more than the Heat right now, and that's just because I think that they're a franchise who does it the right way. Everybody wishes they had a franchise like this. I mean, they build through the draft. They don't go out and buy these free agents up. Sometimes they supplement a free agent or two in there, but almost all of their players are through the draft. Tim Duncan, they drafted him. Tony Parker, they drafted him. Manu Ginobili, they drafted him. Not Boris Diaw, I'm sorry. They didn't draft him. Kawhi Leonard, they drafted him. Danny Green, they drafted him. I mean, these are players that they brought in because they liked them as a piece. And when you have a coach like Greg Popovich who just somehow magically sees where all the pieces should fall, I mean, you're doing it the right way. I mean, I wish I had a franchise like this.
And I think people appreciate that kind of dedication to really building the team. I saw a billboard today in favor of the Spurs, obviously, that was saying, NBA Finals built versus bought.
Mm-hmm.
They had the Spurs up there, so...
Yeah, I mean, there's a big difference where you look at what the Heat have done. Yes, they drafted Dwayne Wade, and I think Udonis Haslem, and I'm pretty sure that maybe Chalmers. Okay, like I can count 3 people that they drafted on this team, so there might be more, but they're not the ones getting the playing time. They bought LeBron James, they bought Chris Bosh, they bought Ray Allen, they bought Chris Anderson, they bought Shane Battier, they bought all these other pieces, Rashard Lewis, that are helping them win this championship. Now, I'm not saying that that's a horrible way to go about doing it because obviously it's worked for them. They are in the championship game for the 4th time in a row. They're going for the 3rd straight title. So obviously something's working there. It's just you always like to see the more organic, the more homegrown way of winning basketball games. And I think that helps you win for a longer period of time. Because once LeBron James gets tired of winning championships in Miami, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, he could just say, you know what, Arnold, I'm going back to Cleveland because that's my hometown. I'll win something there. Or, hey, I'd like to play New York. Or, hey, I'd like to play in L.A., and you could see him just go anywhere.
If
but
Cleveland
you would never
take him back at this point.
Yeah, Cleveland would trust me, Cleveland would take him back. Cleveland will take anybody that they can get, trust me.
I guess Cleveland doesn't have much else, so...
Yeah, they got nothing. Sorry, Cleveland. I feel like we've hated on Cleveland a lot in this show, and it's not intentional, it's just... Sorry, Cleveland.
Cleveland, we feel for you. As a city, we feel for you. You've watched your sports, though. You've watched it long enough, okay? You know the situation's going on.
Yeah, you know better than us what happens in Cleveland with their sports teams. Not so good. But yeah, so you never know what's going to happen there. But another storyline from the Heat would actually be D. Wade's resurgence. He was hurt for about 30 games this year. Didn't really seem like he fully recovered towards the end of the year and the first couple rounds of the playoffs, but really with the Pacers series, he kind of took back off. And if you see D. Wade play at the high level that we're all accustomed to him playing, and LeBron James playing at the same level, and Chris Bosh, I can tell you already from the first couple minutes of the game, looked like he was on point. So you see those 3 stars really stepping up. There's not much you can do, unfortunately. But, the Spurs have 3 good stars of their own, so again, that's what we're looking forward to. Just a really, really good series. Hopefully it'll go 7 games. And let me give you a couple matchups to really look at throughout the series, and you'll really see the tide of the series go back and forth with these matchups. And the number one matchup, and this is going to be the most important one in the entire finals matchup, is going to be Kawhi Leonard versus LeBron James. Now, Kawhi Leonard was kind of the guy that they drafted to be that elite defender, to be that shutdown guy. This is the guy we're going to put on your best player every single time, no matter what, and we need you to defend and beat, the greatest. And, he got matched up against Kevin Durant last series, and now he's on James. So he hasn't had 2 easy tests in a row. I mean, it's been pretty rough for him, because we all know Kevin Durant is the best player this year.
Yeah, and he got knocked out.
Yeah, somehow. So that just gives credit to Kawhi Leonard. But that's not me saying that LeBron James will get shut down by him, because LeBron James is still LeBron James. Any given night, he can be the best player in the world. So, and most nights he is.
I thought Kevin Durant was the best player in the world.
I said any given night, not every night. Kevin Durant is every night.
How could he be any night?
Because it works.
I don't think your math works out there, Brian.
Do not question my logic. Kevin Durant is the best ever, all time, this year, next year, last year, in the future 5 years. Yeah, I love Kevin Durant. I'm sorry to see you go, but so sad. Tear came to mind. But yeah, so watch Kawhi Leonard play LeBron James. You jerk, Kawhi. You knocked Durant out last time. You jerk. But yeah, all right. So the next matchup is not really a matchup one-on-one. It's just kind of an overall matchup that you should watch, and that is the Heat bench versus the Spurs bench. Now, in the game 6, I believe.
Just watch the benches, by the way. Don't
the
watch
benches.
The game. On the benches, while they're sitting there, watch it.
While the players, when you see their reactions, you'll know how the game is going. No. But like with the Spurs, you saw their bench in game 6 of the Thunder series. They came out and scored something like 51 points or something crazy like that. Manu Ginobili comes off the bench. Boris Diaw comes off the bench. Mario Barinelli comes off the bench. Sometimes Danny Green comes off the bench. So their bench can be pretty explosive. Now, they've shown that they're a lot better at home than they are on the road, so that is something to watch. But you look at the Heat bench, they're equally stacked. You have players like Birdman, Chris Anderson, great defensive player. You have Shane Battier. You have Ray Allen coming off the bench. So another set of guys who can defend and score. So we're really going to see the series boil down to, the stars are going to show up. Duncan and Parker are going to show up. Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, and Chris Bosh are going to show up. But if those benches show up, I bet you're going to see whoever has more bench scoring in each game is the team that wins each game. So check it out. Look it up. But yeah.
Now, can you actually score from the bench? Can you sit on the bench and just score?
That would be cool. They should give you 4 points if you score from sitting on the bench. You should be like...
You went out of bounds, but just whatever.
If you jump and land into a seat before your feet touch the ground, then you're allowed 1 out-of-bounds shot worth 4 points.
It's like the dribble rule. If you shoot at that point, you don't get called for traveling. If you sit and shoot at the point that you're sitting on the bench, you don't get called for being out of bounds.
So NBA, if you'd like to send us a check for giving you such a great idea for your sport, go ahead and hit us up at WordsMyFace on Twitter, WordsMyFace@gmail.com, Google+, and of course, comments down below. But